Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone. We made it to another day. Yes, we did. But I know a lot of people are scared out there tonight, Canadians. And I certainly understand that. There's a lot riding on these trade talks, which have now dissolved into, at least at the moment, into nothing, except 50% punitive tariffs uncalled for from the Trump administration on Canada on a broad range of goods, $20 billion worth. And that is scaring people. A lot of people very worried about their jobs, their livelihoods, their ability to care for their families, provide. And I certainly understand. That's why later, in just a short while, we will open the phones to take a call, maybe two, maybe three. We'll see how many people call in. At least one. We have at least one or two. So that will happen to give you an opportunity, to give you a voice, to express your thoughts and your concerns tonight. Last night, I said, we stayed on late, running a double feature on Maverick Midnight Matinee. As the deadline approached, as the clock was ticking down to midnight, and then in the 11th hour, we learned that the talks had been called off, that the Prime Minister had called the negotiating team back to Ottawa because the U.S. side, it appears, was not really acting or bargaining in good faith. So here we are today. Tariffs being imposed overnight at midnight on these additional goods, and that is scaring people, but we need to keep this in perspective, and I think tonight the information I will bring you will help do that in a responsible way, because there is a lot of fear-mongering going on out there. Some of no question, fear justified on this, but it's important to have the right information so that we remain level-headed, clear-eyed, and focused on doing what we need to do to get to the right destination on this so that we can all take care of ourselves, take care of our families, and take care of our darn country. Stay with me. We have a lot of ground to cover tonight. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So after going through everything we went through last night, I sat here when the news came down that the talks between Canada and the U.S. had broken off. And I said, Trump the Trump administration has gone to war with Canada. My words, said it here last night. Today, the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, he ended up using those words as well. Canada is at war. We're involved in a real serious trade war. Here's what he said today.
Mark Carney is going to war. Trade war. The tone.
Because we were attacked. Like, you're at war when you get attacked. We got attacked. U.S. put 50%. We waited until the United States decided to actually implement these so-called 338 tariffs. That's fine. We've got the reserves, we've got the resilience, we've got the plan, we've got the focus. We will respond. We're going to focus on what we can control. We're going to build. In terms of, let me say this in terms of measures and tax and others. We are constantly looking at our tax system, how we can make it as fair as possible, shift the burden to those who are most able to pay, and in a way that incentivizes investment and entrepreneurship. Right? We are, all elements of the following: build Canada strong. It's not just like it is the plan, and so we want builders to put money to work in new businesses, in big infrastructure. We want them to put to work in Canada, and that makes it strong in ways for all.
Yeah, Carney has been, even through all of this, not negotiating in public, not make the whole team really not saying, referring to or revealing very much about the way negotiations were going all the way along. The Trump administration, totally different attitude, strategy, making all kinds of crazy bombastic statements all the way through this, applying all kinds of political pressure through information warfare, disrupting the country, going to incredible lengths to just be disruptive and to throw a lot of information into the environment that is designed to jack people up, get a big emotional response out of people. And a lot of that clearly has been flowing across the border and into the brains of Kanakistanians through social media influencers. It's been their strategy. They want Canadians to apply pressure to the government to bend the knee. That's still going on tonight. I'll show you what I mean about that in a moment. But the Carney government, the negotiating team, Carney himself, very measured, calm through all of this, very focused, a very professional approach. That's the tone we get. That's the that's the way he's been approaching all of this. And yet we still are sitting here tonight with these American tariffs of 50% on about $20 billion worth of Canadian goods, now fully in effect as of 12:01 a.m. this morning. The duties are being applied today after these high-stakes negotiations collapsed. Now today, Jameson Greer is saying, the U.S. Trade Representative, he's saying that Canada declined to finalize a deal that would have reduced American tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminum, and autos, and eliminated a recent lumber tariff, terms that Greer says would have been the most preferential treatment offered to any trading partner. However, we do not really have the official text released by either side, both sides making statements and claims. We know how the Trump administration has been operating, not just here, but with all the different places where they're negotiating around the world. We've seen the way they operate in Iran. We've seen the sucker punching that takes place over there, where even as they had members of their negotiating team appearing on media saying that they had a deal an imminent deal with the Iranian government before the second round of, I mean, I'm not talking about Operation Midnight Hammer. I'm talking about this latest little excursion. Before the excursion began, they were on television saying, "Oh yeah, we've got a deal. It's pretty much done." And then Trump went in and bombed them because he was arrogant and was not true to his word, lied, and they did sucker punch Iran. Now, I don't get me wrong, I'm no big fan of the Iranian regime, but I also see how stupid the negotiating tactics are that Trump has been using. This here, this situation, also really dumb. Canada, probably the best friend the United States has in the entire world, and he can't get to an agreement with us. I tend to put more stock in what the Canadian team is saying than I do in what the US side is saying, because they've been lying about everything, and it's becoming painfully clear that they have not been negotiating in good faith. And as I indicated last night, this is not just about economics. JD Vance said it just about a week ago now. He came out and said that they're using these tariffs as a way to get Canada to change its behavior. They're trying to control the government. That's really what's going on. It's an assault on liberalism. And I'm not talking about like the Liberal Party. It's part of the global anti-liberal movement. It's illiberalism. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like Western liberal democracies. It's an assault on all of that because Trump's administration is not conservative. It's not a typical modern liberal democratic government, which is actual conservatism. I posted a short on social media today outlining that. And that has largely been, surprisingly, received favorably, but some people still weighing in saying, "Oh no, it's all Mark Carney's fault." No, it's Donald Trump who has done all of this and the people around him. This is not the America that we have grown up with. This is not the America that we thought we knew. This is not even the America we had under Donald Trump 1.0. This is Trump 2.0, and this is way more extreme. And this is not free market capitalism. This is controlled capitalism. This is not a free market economy that we're dealing with here. This is all about control, total control, control through tariffs, control through legislation, control through taxation, control through every means that they can bring to bear. And the tax cuts that they've been bringing forward through things like the one big, beautiful bill thing, which nobody really knows what is in it. Yeah, there are some tax cuts, a lot of them temporary, aimed at middle class, lower middle class income levels, but there are also massive social spending cuts. And then you've got the massive subsidies going to the big corporations. And tonight, we're just 1 or 2 days past now where the United States has crossed the $40 trillion debt threshold. $40 trillion they owe. Do you think they're ever going to pay that back? He's got a big problem. He's got $5 diesel at the pump, $40 trillion debt, rising inflation, interest rates higher than he would like to have because of the inflation. And as a result, mounting interest charges on the $40 trillion debt that is spiraling out of control. And he's using tariffs as a sledgehammer, a bludgeoning tool, and the U.S. military as another kind of tool to exert force on other countries to extract wealth. Are you getting the picture? So CARNEY tonight vowing that Canada will respond to all of this with matching dollar for dollar retaliatory tariffs. And those measures focused on sectors including steel, dairy, appliances, agricultural equipment, pulp and paper, and electronics, scheduled to take effect on September 8th. We don't have all the details on those yet, but they are coming. The U.S. tariffs now in place, and based on the restrictions that Trump is facing on the legal side, because of even just U.S. law, I think he's maxed out on the amount that he can actually charge. I think 50%, because the last round of tariffs were deemed to be unconstitutional, illegal. This round of tariffs, that he's found this other Section 338 that he's using from the piece of legislation from the 1930s that he's using to apply these tariffs. And I think 50% in most cases here is the maximum he can apply. So he doesn't have much room to maneuver. So Canada responding tonight. Here's Mark Carney saying that, and this is the thing too. Carney came out today and addressed the nation. He really addressed the world, because in many respects he is, the eyes of the world are on Mark Carney right now, because he had the cojones to stand up to the guy that a lot of people think is the most powerful man in the world. Well, even some European countries bent the knee and just kind of gave in on a lot of these things. But Canada, being the most dependent country, most integrated country economically with the United States, Carney taking a hard stand on this. Well, yesterday people were getting ready to say that I could see it coming. People on the the anti-Canadian brigade online was already ramping up the rhetoric, saying that they'd already started to accuse him of bending the knee and caving in and accepting a crappy deal. And then he walked away. So called the Canadian negotiating team back to Ottawa.
The new U.S. tariffs are designed to hurt us and divide us. They're a miscalculation. They're a miscalculation because Canadians will always take care of each other. We know we're stronger together. In the last year and a half, Canadians have met this moment with resolve, with purpose, with strength. In many ways, vacationing in national parks, buying Canadian products, choosing Canadians, small acts of solidarity, repeated millions of times that make a statement. We're masters of our destiny.
So, yeah, here's the thing to keep in mind, okay? Now, I know a lot of people very scared, worried about their jobs, but keep in mind that these tariffs from the U.S. are focused on a range of goods like hockey sticks, and I can't give you the whole list because it's very extensive, but it affects about $20 billion worth of goods annualized. And you have to remember that even though all of that is happening, and it is going to have an impact on both sides of the border, hurting both sides, CUSMA, the Canada, US, Mexico free trade agreement, still remains in effect. We still have that. And so it's supposed to be honored. The problem is the Trump administration has been violating the agreement, but it's still there. So cars, trucks still largely flowing back and forth, tariff-free. So this is not going to mean like the immediate shutdown of auto plants. And I think in the minds of people tonight, there's a lot of freaking out going on because 50% tariffs. And I think in the minds of people, that means 50% tariff on everything we're exporting from Canada to the United States. And that's not really the case. And even though there are some tariffs, additional tariffs on vehicles tonight, you have to keep in mind that CUSMA still applies. So if the vehicles are CUSMA compliant on North American content, Most of that stuff is still flowing across the border, supposed to be anyway, tariff-free. But the situation continues to deteriorate. And these additional tariffs are serious. And as I said last night, it just shows that, yeah, I think we are really engaged in a form of warfare with the United States, which is just freaking insane that it has come to this level, because this is what Trump does when he goes to war. He uses sanctions, right? He uses economic warfare to try to get what he wants as a political and geopolitical tool. Here's the U.S. Trade Representative, Jamieson Greer, on the U.S. state broadcasting company now, Fox News. Talk about bending the knee to Trump. Here you go. Here's what he had to say about this today.
What do you expect to happen from here? Do you think trade talks will get back on track, or will there be a pause here for a while?
It's hard to say. We don't have new talks planned with the Canadians. We're moving forward with measures that respond to Canadian retaliation. Remember, as President Trump has introduced a trade policy to reshore American production and protect American jobs, 2 countries have retaliated against the United States, the People's Republic of China and Canada.
And Canada does a lot of business with China.
They do, and they continue to retaliate. And after a year of that retaliation, we've said enough, and so we've taken countermeasures. Our interest is in protecting American workers and protecting American supply chains. We've been offering to bring the Canadians along on that path, really to cut the tariffs on them, on steel, on tariff autos, even lumber, things that are sensitive for them. And they've always had the best deal, and they still would have an even better deal, but they didn't want that.
What do you expect to happen from here? Do you think trade talks will get back on?
Yeah. Those words chosen carefully, by the way. Canada and China, the only 2 countries that retaliated. Keep in mind, that's an important word, retaliated, which means that Trump attacked. It was a tariff war initiated by the United States, Trump. So he attacks, you're not allowed to hit back. If you hit back, they're going to crush you. That's the attitude. 2 countries retaliated. China, which Trump had to bend the knee to because they did push back, and he went all the way to China. Remember the trip? And he took all of his trading dudes with him, all his big tech bros and oligarch friends, all the rich CEOs and all the people that are going to profit the most making deals. They weren't there representing the people, man. They were there representing themselves, making deals with the Chinese, but the Chinese put Trump in his place, and he had nothing but glowing, wonderful things to say about Xi when he was there, things that he certainly wasn't saying when he was on U.S. soil. But boy, you get in front of him, and yeah, the tone sure as hell changed, didn't it? Well, Canada walked away. Why? Because the deal wasn't favorable, because Greer's not telling you the whole story. It's all out of context. Yeah, they were rolling back tariffs on the autos, and this is the information that we have tonight. We don't have all the text on this, but even from the U.S. side, it looks like what they were doing is they were threatening 50% tariffs on autos. They were going to roll that back to 25%, even though we've got Kuzma. So we've got basically free trade in effect right now. So it was going to go from, 25% to 15%, which kind of, because it's such a low margin operation product, it makes it difficult, if not impossible at that point, for the product to be economical. So they were going to roll those tariffs back on cars, but they were exempting. They were not going to roll the tariff back on like heavy duty trucks, not like large pickup trucks. And those are products manufactured in Oshawa. Those are vehicles that are top sellers. The auto industry, the North American automakers in North America, those are the vehicles that make profit. Passenger vehicles, not so much. But he's not telling you that. These are the details that matter. And it's hard for people to understand any of this, and especially when you've got a whole crap load of propaganda and online lying going on, and it's ramping up again. I'm so tired of this, but it will never end because we are beyond the age of television and into the age of social media, where you don't really know who's who in the zoo, and you get genuine independent streamers, you get political hacks, you get paid influencers, you get propagandists, and you even get AI generated fakery going on. And then you have just outright freaking misinformed people, or sometimes liars, and you can't tell the difference. But I'll tell you this, I just watched this video, and these are the kinds of streams, podcasts, whatever, that are designed intentionally to mislead you and enrage you. In fact, he even says this. He says, I think the post here is, yeah, it will make you angry. This will make you angry. He's telling you, he wants you angry. He wants to, so that they can feed on the fear, my friends.
So it's been okay for Canada to charge the United States tariffs, but the moment that the United States wants to charge Canada with tariffs, we're no longer friends or allies. Oh, that's right. You think this whole tariffs thing started yesterday? Canada has been charging the United States tariffs for years. So let me list a few. A 270% tariff on milk, 245% tariff on cheese, 298% tariff on butter.
He's again not telling you the whole story. We have quotas. Some stuff comes over at low tariffs or even no tariffs until they get to a certain quota. We have very low quotas, so very strict quotas on the amount that can come into the country. The Canadian government the negotiating team was willing to open up more access to the Canadian market, both sides acknowledging that. He's not telling you the whole story. He's skewing all of this. The point being here that Canada doesn't really export much dairy at all to the United States. We don't want to trade. It's a carve out. Anyway, there's a whole lot of misinformation and even outright lying, I think, going on here.
238% tariff on chicken, 69.9% on sausages, 57.8% on barley seed, 26.5% on meat, 25% on cars.
A lot of these tariffs he's referring to are from 2025, and they are retaliatory tariffs against Trump's initial tariff volley, the ones that were deemed to be illegal and unconstitutional. So those are the numbers that he's quoting. And in some of these cases, he's flipping it around. He's getting it either wrong by accident or because he's misinformed, or he's flipping it and quoting these numbers reversed so that it's actually the U.S. tariffs. But it's not accurate. But he doesn't care. He's just getting you upset. Retaliatory tariffs. That's what they were. Dairy, yeah, we've had for a long time supply management, but it's a complicated, intricate system, and that's even why, as these trade talks have been unfolding, you've heard things that sound almost contradictory, where the U.S. side saying that Trump's saying that that's all been hammered out, that they're going to have access to the Canadian market, while at the same time the Canadian team saying that supply management would be preserved. That's because you could preserve supply management with no tariffs through the use of quotas, providing more access, but not maybe complete and full access, meaning that they can only bring in so much. I don't know. We don't know what the details of all that were, but I do know this guy's misleading you. He's not telling you, he's not giving you the information with proper context and detail so that it sounds really terrible. It's awful, those nasty Canadians, but it's much more complicated than that. You know what it's like. Go get a car loan and then look at the contract that you write when you sign on the dotted line. I mean, pages long just for a car loan. Do you think that these documents that they put together, well, actually, some of them are not as detailed as they should be, but these agreements, these tariffs, these supply management programs, they're actually kind of complex, and there are different layers, just as I indicate, as I laid that out just now for the auto tariffs that the U.S. side said they were going to provide some relief on, reducing to 15%, but not telling you that that relief would not apply to larger pickup trucks, which is a crucial component to the whole thing. Canada can't accept that. Bob Rae, former Premier of Ontario, ambassador to the United Nations, saying that the U.S. side doesn't know what they're actually dealing with here. We have a competent team. Canada's pretty much united on this, and this is bringing Canadians even closer together tonight, partly out of fear and also out of necessity.
But look, Mr. Greer said a lot of things. He said he doesn't understand why Canada needs to manufacture cars. Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, has said the same thing. He just wants us to send all our critical minerals and other things down to the U.S. and the manufacturing and other base of our economy can be shut down. I mean, we're dealing with people, with a crew who have an agenda that's been set by the President of the United States that in no way could be acceptable Canadians. Absolutely no way that we could live with this kind of an approach to our trading relationship with the United States. We're going back in time. These tariffs that are being introduced by the President are part of the Smoot-Hawley Act. This is the first time in 96 years that a presidential proclamation has been as broad and frankly as ill-informed as what the President has done. And if I have to choose between Jameson Greer and Howard Lutnick and Mark Carney and Dominic LeBlanc, I take them. I just think our guys speak the truth, and we know what we're doing. We know what we're talking about. This is our lifeblood. This is just a hobby for these guys, and they don't understand who they're playing with and what the consequences of their behavior are going to be.
And the consequences will be severe. This will increase costs to consumers and businesses on the U.S. side. Make no mistake, it's going to hurt us too. Both sides are going to suffer. This isn't, and in the short, medium, and long term, this is going to hurt the United States because it is not going to result in the reshoring of things in the way that Trump thinks really overall. Because because countries are trying to find ways to avoid trading with the United States now. That's why you see, some auto companies, instead of, they manufacture some in the United States, but they're moving production to other countries like Japan, ramping up production there to supply other markets around the world. The only reason to build in the United States is to avoid the tariffs so that you have access to the United States. But that doesn't mean that you're going to go to the United States to produce product to export to the rest of the world, especially if the input costs for your products in the factories is a lot higher there because they're charging tariffs on every damn country for every damn thing coming in. All the critical minerals, sheet metal, aluminum, all the components, the inputs for your product, the rubber, the tires, whatever it is, any component coming from any other country in the world. So only things manufactured domestically. But even if you're manufacturing it in the United States, but you have a 50% tariff on imported steel, then if you're keeping that steel out of the market because it's not affordable, the price of domestic steel still goes up because the supply is dropped. And because there's less competition, those domestic producers can charge more in the marketplace. And they do. And that has happened historically. That is the law of supply and demand. And that's just a natural law. That's the thing that happens. And so everything becomes more expensive over time as the input costs for every product produced in the United States increases because of the tariffs. This is massive. This is a huge amount of money. Things that they do buy in large quantities from Canada, and this is going to hurt them in a really severe way. They're already suffering from higher inflation than they want, targeting 2, getting 3.4, 3.8. It's going to go higher. CARNEY tonight saying this more.
Another prominent justification for U.S. tariffs has been their claim that since the United States runs, quote, a trade deficit with Canada, we were ripping them off. Also a quote. But the U.S.'s narrow merchandise trade deficit only exists because the U.S. buys so much of its energy from Canada. Canada fuels American growth, supplying 99% of their natural gas imports, 85% of their electricity imports, 60% of their crude oil imports. I don't think they want us to stop sending any of that energy.
The other reason Canada walked away is because we're told, and it's credible, and I believe it, because they've said things like this in public during the negotiations and even before. They don't want Canada trading with other countries. They're trying to control who we get to trade with. It's the equivalent of going down and making a purchase at Home Depot and having Home Depot, a big American corporation, huge big box retailer, say, you can shop here, but if you're going to shop with us, you're not allowed to go shop at Canadian Tire or at any other hardware store, home hardware. You can't shop at Rona. You can't spend your money there. Or you could flip it around the other way and say that if you're selling something to someone, that they would come in and say, well, you can sell your widget to us. I don't know, maybe you sell mugs and you want to go sell it to an independent retailer downtown. And that retailer says, well, we'll buy your mugs, but you can't sell them to anybody else. In actual fact, that actually does go on more than you probably know. You deal with these big US big box retail giants, the majors. That's how they go about putting independent businesses out of business, small businesses. It's predatory. I know this to be true because I used to run years and years ago my own little hobby shops. And so what the big guys do, these big US companies, Canadians get in on the act too if they're big enough. But the US companies in particular, the Walmarts of the world, Kmart, when we had Kmart, all of them. Kmart being one of the big ones, actually. I remember going to the wholesaler to pick up a lot of plastic model kits for my store. And what the deal was the wholesaler was packaging up a big pallets of plastic model kits that they were going to blow out at like $5 a pop. But if you're an independent retailer, you couldn't buy them for that. They were going to sell them to the public for $5. The ones you're selling in the store that you're purchasing through the wholesaler from the manufacturer, you're paying like $15. You got to sell them for $20, right? Make $5 if you're lucky. They're blowing out. Now it was only select ones, but that was an example. So that's what the US was trying to do to Canada on a large scale, saying, well, we'll trade with you, but if you trade with us, you can't trade with this country or that country or all these other countries. And that's what they've been trying to do. That's what they have been doing with the oil, which I've been trying to tell you for months now, for years here, sitting in this chair. Why do you think they want to break the country up? That's why they're dumping all that U.S. money into Alberta, to split up the country, and because they're the ones who have been exerting political pressure up here, the big U.S. oil companies, especially with Trump. They don't want those pipelines built to the West Coast. They don't want that oil flowing to China, Asia. So they don't want that. Because they get the Canadian oil at a discount right now because we have just one big customer for Canadian crude oil. One customer, you're a price taker at that point. You're not a price setter, and you're not getting the world commodity price for your product. So Canada has always been selling at a discount. They want to keep it that way. They want to make sure that Canada doesn't trade more with China. So they frame it as a national security issue. And that's what Carney was also highlighting today during his address to the nation and the world, by the way, saying that that was unacceptable. The United States can't dictate to Canada who we get to trade with, whether it's China or Germany or the UK or Australia, or for that matter, even Russia. But out in BC, David Eby saying that strangely still, and he's mentioned this before, lumber products from Russia get more favorable treatment than lumber products right now coming from Canada. So it doesn't make any sense. And why would Canada agree to not trade with other countries when we're being treated like this?
The hope is, my hope is, that with a change in administration or a change in approach from this administration following the electoral impacts that they're seeing currently, that we'll be able to get to a place of stability. But I think the idea that our relationship with the United States is going to go back to what it was is folly. It has changed. It will not go back. And as a result, we have to do the uncomfortable but necessary work of reaching out and increasing our trade diversification around the world to ensure that we will not be held hostage in the way that the president is trying to right now by the fact that we've been willing to integrate with the American economy to the extent that we did. The hope.
And Canada has, generally speaking, always been in lockstep with whatever the United States wanted to do, because we've been partners, not competitors. That's the way we've largely looked at trade. I mean, some friction on certain things, including softwood lumber, for instance, and steel, aluminum, but we've always worked those things out. And even, but when there were concerns about Chinese EVs and the US government put tariffs and quotas on electric vehicles, Canada was in lockstep and said, yeah, okay, we're going to build the EV industry together. We're going to build that out. We're going to follow the US lead. So we imposed the same tariffs on Chinese vehicles that the United States did. And then Canada was we were the ones that took it on the chin because China retaliated against us to put pressure on us because we were in lockstep with the United States. Maybe you don't remember. And that's why we got what we got, where if it wasn't for Trump, we'd still have those trade restrictions on Chinese electric vehicles. The reason we're bringing in the 49,000 from China in that carve-out deal, which is compliant with CUSMA, by the way, is because of what Trump has been doing with the tariffs, because he attacked us. So we didn't really have much choice. And the canola farmers out in Western Canada were suffering from retaliatory tariffs from China on Canada. They didn't retaliate on vehicles. They retaliated in the agricultural sector, which if you're not paying attention, you would not pick up on, but that was crucial. So our government worked out a new deal where we opened up the market to some Chinese vehicles coming in, which would never have been coming here had Trump not done what he did. And then it wasn't us, it was the trade negotiating team from Canada went to China and then made that deal. So as a result, China reduced the tariffs on the canola, saved the farmers. That's what we had to do. Meanwhile, the government's getting criticized by the pro-American live streaming radicalized media in this country, and I would say compromised, criticizing the Canadian government, trying to cut them off at the knees, making it look like we've fallen prey to the Chinese. That's what Greer is doing. That rhetoric earlier about China and Canada, that's not an accident. That is trying to paint Canada through the information warfare system as being in lockstep, that we're both commie nations, communists, and China's controlling Canada. Now Canada becomes a national security threat to the US. Those Chinese vehicles, they're spy cars, they're cell phones with wheels on them. Yeah, they're coming from China, but there are ways to make sure that they are still secure. And it's an exaggeration. Again, it's like the new version of the Red Scare. And it's being done intentionally so that they have another layer of justification for taking whatever, actions they want against Canada, because we are at war with the United States. But I wouldn't say so much just the United States. It's the Trump MAGA regime. That's what it is. There are two Americas down there, and not everybody is in favor of what is going on. You're seeing in various states concerns from governors who are saying this is costing the American people too, and it makes no sense. Because it doesn't. Carney's right on this file. And I have to say, I am distressed when I see people, from my point of view at this point, because it is such a serious matter. You can criticize to a point on the politics, but when it comes right down to it, if you're not defending your country and calling for a fair trade deal, there's something wrong.
We were ready and close to having a comprehensive agreement that would be fair to both countries. We were close to that happening, and it seemed that we were close to reaching a comprehensive and fair agreement with the United States. But they made changes, including threats on the French language and Quebec culture and Canadian culture. That is not acceptable. That would never be acceptable. This was not our choice. We were there. We were ready and close to having a comprehensive agreement that would be fair to both countries. We were close to that happening, and it seemed that we were close to reaching a comprehensive and fair agreement with the United States. But they made changes.
And that is, I think, probably pretty accurate to what happened. Canada wanted a deal. Carney's and the team under immense pressure, and there's so much at stake. I just, if there had been a fair deal on the table, there's no way they would have walked away. Too much at stake. But here we go. I have to say that where Pierre Poilievre is concerned, and the Conservative side here in Canada, I'm relieved to see the kind of language coming from the Conservative leader here tonight. Conservatives are disappointed that the United States has chosen to impose unjustified new tariffs on Canada. These tariffs threaten the livelihoods of families across the country. Canadians must stay united to defend our country against these unfair attacks on our jobs and our businesses. Canada cannot accept unilateral tariffs that will deindustrialize our country, nor can we accept a bad deal. Instead, we must continue our efforts for tariff-free trade. Later today, I will seek to speak with the Prime Minister to discuss what we can do to defend our workers, our businesses, and our economy. We will always put our country first. Conservatives support measures to protect Canadians and our industries targeted by these unjust U.S. tariffs. We also need urgent economic reforms to restore growth, protect jobs, and save our businesses. This must include ending the industrial carbon tax. So now you're getting into the politics, and okay, fair enough. But at least he's now finally, at this late hour on this crazy tariff war, finally shifting the tone and the narrative on the Conservative side so that it's pro-Canada instead of just anti-liberal. Big L, Liberal Party liberal. At least there's that. Not so much from Jamil Giovanni, who I noticed today was posting stuff that seemed to be awfully self-serving. Well, it sounds almost like it's like concern for his local constituents and for Canada. His post was very self-serving because he just wants Poilievre's job. And as you may recall, he took that trip down to the United States in a grandstanding fashion to meet with his good bud, J.D. Vance, to discuss all of this. And what he was really doing was upstaging not just the prime minister, but especially Pierre Poilievre as he positions himself for the inevitable leadership review, which I think is coming very soon, as Poilievre is under fire from within his own party and is probably not going to be the guy leading the party into the next election. Jamil Giovanni, being this backbencher, rookie MP, strangely already being elevated to the status of maybe the heir apparent. And as I said before, Kuzma's still in place, but as Carney rightfully and correctly points out tonight during his speech earlier, even though we have Kuzma, as has been confirmed, verified, and illustrated over the past number of months, the Trump administration has been violating it.
Clarification that precision was a change. The U.S. introduced in the last hours, efforts to restrict our ability to have other trade deals. You heard me say a moment ago what we've accomplished in the last year, 20 new deals, economic and security partnerships, the prospect of doubling our market access because we believe in free trade. We're the partner of choice in many respects for countries around the world, and the Americans wanted to restrict that. They had language that they wanted to restrict that. Unacceptable. Clarification that.
Unacceptable. You don't get to tell us who we are allowed to trade with, who we're allowed to be friends with. Nor should, frankly, he be blockading Cuba. No business doing that. It's not his country. I don't care if he's got the Don Roe doctrine. It's a violation of international law. I don't care what court in the United States writes what on what piece of paper. That's just a unilateral excuse written on a piece of paper. It's fake. Fake. Are you hearing me? Fake. That's fake. Just deciding something on your own and writing it on a piece of paper and then holding it up and saying, that's the law. No, that's not the law. That's maybe law within your borders. Doesn't mean it's the law out there. That's why we have the UN. That's why we have these international organizations. And you can sit there and say, that's globalism. We're giving up our sovereignty. Well, no, not really. That's to protect the sovereignty of nations around the world, to ensure that the borders are not violated from other countries, so that it's not just the survival of the fittest and that might makes right. Now, I understand that if, you make, if a country doesn't have the ability to opt out of agreements internationally, then as being binding within their own borders in the way that they behave and the policies that they enact, then you can be giving up sovereignty. However, when you're talking about the way countries interact with each other and whether one country gets to invade another or set up blockades to prevent them from trading with other countries, no, you don't have the right to do that. No country has the right to do that to any other country. Then it becomes, if you don't have international agreements, then it becomes whoever has the biggest guns and the most and more of them. Whoever has the most power is the one that gets to rule the roost. And that's why Trump has been sitting around saying he can do anything that he wants, and he can pretty much, well, he described himself as the ruler of the world, king of the world. He's delusional. And I think he might be about to get a lesson the hard way. and the whole United States paying for it. And that's really, really, really not good. What he's doing is so damaging, and it's going to have long-term impacts. Again, I wonder sometimes if he's really on America's side, and I am worried. But the truth of the matter is, tonight, I know that you're scared. I'm honestly scared too, because this is really good. This could really do a lot of damage to a lot of people, a lot of Canadians. But I'm also worried about the United States, because I love the United States. We're so related, and it's going to hurt a lot of people down there too. This is just bad news all the way around, and it's bloody stupid. Going to take a short break, come back. I'll open those phone lines, and we'll see where that takes us tonight. If you want to call in, you can. I've got at least 1 or 2 calls lined up here. May just be the one. We'll see if anybody else wants to weigh in tonight. If you want to express your concerns, your opinions, you're welcome to do so. But I do need to get at least the one call in, because I made the promise. So here we go. Take a little break, come back, and we'll do that on the other side.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah.
Maverick News. No blah, blah, blah.
You never know if you're going to get blah, blah, blah when you go to the phones, but we've got our first caller on the line. All right, who's there?
Hi, it's Bridget. How are you?
Oh, well, I'm just fine. Bridget Belton, mother of the
I haven't heard
convoy.
I haven't talked to you in a while. I thought I'd give you a shout.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you called in. Because
Yes.
especially you, because being a trucker and seeing what's happened with these tariffs overnight, I would think there would have been a lot of chaos at the border. And of course, I'm very interested in your take on all of this. Where do you think all of this is going?
Well, it's kind of funny because I hear all the elbows up people, and it's like, y'all haven't gone to the border because it's getting busier. It's people are crossing. People are not staying home. I don't plan on staying home because I don't plan on hurting innocent people. And that's my take on it. Like, the American people aren't the problem. It's the government. So why are we hurting the people? Right? And that's just my take. And when I go to the grocery store, I don't look at where it was bought. I just buy the best product for the lowest price. And if people don't want to do that and they want to buy the more expensive product, or, specifically stay with Canadian made products, that's their choice. I have a budget. I can't do that. So I'm just as normal. And I am upset with the US. I totally loved Trump the first time around. And the second time, I'm like, who is this guy? This is not Trump number one. This is not the same guy. These tariffs hurt their people when they put the tariffs on. I've just recently read something about 25% tariff on lumber. So they're paying 25% more to build a house.
Yeah.
Canadians don't pay when the US put the tariffs on. People forget that. They're like, oh, great. The Canadians will pay because we're putting tariffs on. A lot of Americans don't understand. When the US puts the tariff on, the US people pay.
So how would you try to bring pressure to bear to get to a resolution? What kind of leverage would you use if you're not going to encourage people to just buy Canadian and avoid buying U.S. products?
We have lots of choice. And CARNEY's doing the right thing. As much as I dislike the Liberal Party of Canada, and I have good reason to, especially him, actually, because he was his advisor. But I mean, he is doing the right thing by looking for other business partners. If I had a company and my closest buyer did not want to buy from me, or did not want, the price that I've set, I'd be like, okay, I've got to look for other business while that's on a downturn. If they come back, that's great. If they don't, I'm sad, but I have to take care of my family. CARNEY's doing the right thing. A lot of people don't like it, but he's doing the right thing.
Well, if they had taken that deal as it was sitting on the table, you would have had auto plants shutting down. And
we already have auto plants shutting down. I mean, look at the one closest to us. We had, what was that name of that silly friggin' EV plant? Starts with a C. Oh, I can't think of it now.
Cami? The Cami plant?
That's it, the Cami plant.
Where they were
right?
building the Bright Drop. Yeah, that was a terrible product, by the way, for that facility. But yeah.
Those trucks are ugly and thin.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there in a field, or what used to be asphalt, but is growing into a field. And they're not going anywhere. So how many people lost their jobs? Then you have America First. Well, then there's a tool and die company that left Canada to go be American First. That's not right. You put people out of work and move. I mean, I think all these companies should have to, if they're going to move to the States, they should have to retrain each and every employee to an open position. So if there's a position in, I don't know, making bright lights, right? They'll have to go and pay for that, not just get up and leave a building and leave things behind, right? I don't think they should be allowed to do that. I think they should have to take care of the workers that they used and abused for the years they were in Canada.
Well, not just the workers, but the taxpayers of Canada too, because a lot of these plants received tax subsidies, grants.
Oh, don't get me going on
breaks,
that, Rick,
right?
because
Yeah.
I'd be charging them an exit tax for everything
100%.
that they got from us.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? You're leaving. You got $10 billion over the course of being in Canada. That's due right
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Or seize their property, their buildings. You won't get all of it back, but you'd get at least a portion of it back.
Yeah, you got to get the tax dollars back out of that if they just pick up and leave. And there have been too many examples of that happening through Canadian history. And you'd think the government would learn and make sure that there are provisions put in any kind of agreements. But yeah, they can take action like that. It's just
look at the cricket farm. I mean, what a bottomless pit that was.
Yeah, tell people about that, because I don't think people are aware of what happened up there in London.
Well, they got tons and tons of money. They built this big factory.
Cricket
and
farm.
then cricket farm. There are crickets everywhere, right? And then all of a sudden, well, we're not making any money. This was a bad deal
Because people don't want to eat crickets.
Right? So, yeah, nobody wants to like have chocolate covered crickets or cricket flour or cricket potato chips, right? Like nobody wants it. So we're out of business. We're broke.
Yeah.
And it's how many billions did we give them? A brand new plant?
Well, it was millions, not billions, but yeah, the guy made out like a bandit, right? Yeah.
Right. So that kind of thing should be paid back. It's not no, you can't just be given this bursary and not pay it back. I'm tired of corporate welfare, honestly. It's got to stop. We can't afford
I
it.
totally agree. Yes.
I ran on that whole platform and nobody would listen. I was just like, corporate welfare has got to stop.
Yeah.
It's time that the friends of the government learned that these are loans. They are not, hey, do what you want with it. And if you decide to leave, there are consequences for that. And we will follow you. We will get our money back.
Yeah. I mean, I could, I have my own views on it too. I don't believe in straight up handouts. I believe more in tax breaks and things like that to incentivize investments rather than handing money directly to a company, because it prevents exactly that kind of scenario, which I think that whole cricket farm thing was just a big freaking scam from the beginning. That's what it looks like to me.
Look at how many things are. I mean, you've got bailouts for every industry, and then you got truckers that can't even get like EI in the same time frame, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to give $1 million to Air Canada because we can't let them fly. Truckers can't drive unless they get a needle in the arm, and but we're not going to support them. They're just going to have to suffer. So, we are the taxpayer, and we should be taken care of far long before a billionaire company owner. But we won't stop any of that until we stop electing the elites. Stop electing the ones in the $300, the $1,500, the $2,000 suit, and we start electing those like Rick Walker, like, I mean, I could see you in actually the House of Commons. Is kind of funny because I could picture you like giving it to them. No, that's not right. You're twisting the truth. No,
stop lying.
Stop lying. Yeah. But I mean, it's just until we all wake up as a society and stop having the elite rule us, we're always going to be in the same situation.
Yeah. Who else is on the line there? We have another caller.
The good old dragon. You're Ian.
Well, I'm glad you called in, Ian. My friend from Montreal, you traitorous Quebecer, you. One of the reasons CARNEY walked away, he says, is because the issue of culture came up. I know there were reports that said the Online Streaming Act was on the table and the government was willing to basically get rid of that. But then everything fell apart because there were issues surrounding Canadian culture and language. And that, of course, ties directly into Quebec. And you and I talked about that a little bit on the phone earlier this afternoon. So what's your view on it?
Well, actually, you made a good point. We have a problem, if you will, because in Quebec we have Bill 96 and Bill 101, which is basically a preservation of the French culture, right? And as you know, every label in Canada in general have two language. We have French and English labels, so we can know what we're buying, purchasing, or whatnot. So in America, they don't like the fact that they would have to ship in say Quebec or in Canada in general to label stuff in French because, well, it's just enough. Basically, it's too much for them to ask in a way. So what happens
You're
is
not
that
wrong. You're not
That's-
wrong. I was just at a facility that was talking about that. You're absolutely right.
Right. So what they don't want is to make some label in French. So that is what Christine Frechette and also Eric Girard did spoke about and comment earlier this week. So this is what it's all about in a certain way. We have a certain leverage on this part. You made a comment earlier, Rick, about hobby shops. So in Quebec, I did send you a text on that at this point during the broadcast. Hobby shops in Quebec have to basically turn off their shop and close door because most of the role-playing game like Dungeon and Dragon, Cyberpunk, Shadow, those kind of tabletop game we call, and also card game like Yugi, Magic the Gathering, those kind of cards.
Role-playing
They don't
games, yeah.
produce. Yeah, they don't play. They don't produce them in French in America. So that is a big problem since we need to have both language, and for that reason, there's a lot of hobby shop in Quebec that are losing their job or already have closed their doors because they don't have the both language. So it's a huge blow, I think, in the hobby shop industry or in the sector. Another thing I can tell you also is that, well, it's basically an attack on our culture. I know that Nick did said basically that they don't really care about the fact that we want French label and stuff like this. So I think it's basically an attack on our culture and our sovereignty, not only on our economic or. So that ties also down to what said J.D. Vance earlier, that they want basically to change our behavior.
Yes, and I think you're touching on something very important. As much as some people think that the French-English divide divides us, in many ways it unifies the country and it provides resilience and a layer of insulation against foreign influence and threat, especially from the United States, because of the language laws, because of those. Strangely, it's the things that people here fight about within English French culture, as just one example, that makes the country stronger, because U.S. companies don't want to package things in bilingual packaging. So that makes sure that we have to have like a cereal boxes produced in Canada with English and French on them. So that means you've got, cereal produced here instead of just in the United States. And it's a reason why Quebec is actually stronger with Canada than to separate, because now you have the whole country defending Quebec in a trade war in order to preserve French language to ensure that U.S. companies can't just flood the Quebec or the Canadian market with unilingual English-only packaging, which would then water down the efforts to preserve French language. And if that's something that is important to you, and if you live in Quebec, it is. But now, strangely, it's the rest of the country, English-speaking Canada, that is defending French-speaking Canada. And I don't think people understand how those laws, those provisions, those non-tariff trade barriers actually help preserve Canada and keep it together.
That's true. And you know what? This will ties, and I will tell you this ties also into the other leverage card that Quebec has. Because, guys, don't you think that Quebec doesn't hold a freaking good poker game here? Okay? I'll tell you why, and I said on the chat earlier, I will prove to everyone, okay, that just Quebec itself, and Montreal especially, can disrupt the U.S. in their war and the trade because of all the leverage and cards that we hold.
Energy, right? Quebec produces a whole lot of energy.
That,
yeah.
But
and dude, I'm so for you, like disrupting this trade deal. But you need to put in Canadian road signs, okay? As a Canadian trucker, I literally, the last trip out there, you guys put in a construction zone with only French direction. I can tell you, I stopped in a moving lane to Google what the heck your sign said, okay? So, you know, either ban us from coming or put in some, at least a small, tiny, like, go this way, dummy. Like, you know, something, anything would be very, very helpful. Because I'm sure the residents didn't like me going down their street with 72 feet. Like, I'm pretty sure they were like, what the heck is she doing here? And I'm like, I just hope the hydro lines are high enough. That's all I hope.
So in other words, we need, because we have Bill 96 that is preserving French culture. So we need Bill 97 that would probably basically do the same thing, but for English, that we preserve your life when you come to Canada because you don't know shit in French. So
well,
I am in Canada. I live in Canada. I'm from Ontario, dude. And the only thing I can say is not worth repeating on the air in French. but I'm saying, like, either ban us from your province, because I'm okay with that too. Like, if you can't speak French, you can't go. I'm okay with that too. And that would cause me a lot less grief at work, actually, because I go, no, Quebec, no. And they go, sorry, you're going to Quebec. Or put in something in English. I don't care. I just, going through a neighborhood with 72 feet is a little stressful.
Why are numbers not in French? Like, why are numbers universally, like a 5 is a 5? Why isn't there like a French
like
5?
The only thing that's universal is numbers. I mean, they've got weight stations that look like sea container removal yards. They've got big signs on the roadway of lions blowing things. Then they've got this, like, a belt around the transport truck. I'm like, I have no idea what you're trying to convey. It does not come across in English at all. Like, even your visuals are not the same.
So no one said that being Canadian is easy. But Bridget,
it's like being an immigrant in my own country. I really understand being an immigrant of a non-speaking language when I go to Quebec. Like, it's bad.
It is. Yeah. I have a question for you though about crossing the border and truckers and what's happening there with all of the tariffs. You know, tariffs are on, tariffs are off. Tariffs are now 25% of what they were. Now they're 15% more and then on Tuesday he tacos out and then we get, you know, something completely different. Is this causing chaos at the border? I don't know how the the people working at the border can keep up with all of this stuff. I can't imagine how crazy it must have been at the border at midnight last night as truckers would be arriving. And then if you're there at 11:58, you arrive and your stuff isn't tariffed, but at 12:01 a.m. your stuff is tariffed. Like what happens? Or have you been like, what do you help me out here? What's going on at the border?
I don't typically deal with that because I just take the load and go, right? So that's an internal office issue. But what they have to do is, from my understanding, dispatch has had a couple of loads that were tariffed after they got to the yard. And then they had to redo the paperwork in order to include the updated tariffs. So it delayed the product. The problem with that for us is we carry all reefer items. Everything we have on the truck is, it has a time limit. It can be on a truck or in a warehouse because it's perishable. So they have to work very, very quickly to sort that all out and get the new paperwork in and get the truck moving. What it does to the trucker is you could start at 6 a.m., but you're actually not moving until 2, until the paperwork's all done and redone and sent back in. So it causes delays when they do that. But at the border itself, unless you're going personally, you shouldn't see any delay, right? So if you're going as like a single operator, you've got a business in Chatham or, Toronto, and you're transporting your own goods, you won't see that delay.
I see.
So
I guess too, because everything is digitized, computers, that when these tariff numbers change, then they can do that instantaneously, pretty much, right?
Yeah, it's paperwork and it's redoing paperwork from my understanding of it. I don't handle that, but it really doesn't affect me. And, it might affect the guy that's carrying, couches and furniture and hockey sticks, and, Canadian lumber or whatever, but it doesn't affect what I do. It's perishable. It has to roll. It cannot sit there on a dock forever. It has to go. So once we get the green light, we're gone. It doesn't matter.
And what's your personal view on this Gordie Howe Bridge issue, which is kind of related to what we're talking about?
Well, I'm glad to see the Maroon family actually gave back all the property in Windsor to the city of Windsor at no cost. They're just handing over the keys to all the property that they own. That's good because that looked like a war zone down there half the time. It was, decaying. Buildings were being broken into. There's glass everywhere. I mean, it looked terrible. There was stuff lying around underneath the bridge. So all that being cleaned up is great. Hopefully they can use all that steel that was there.
Can you explain to people what that is about? Because I think maybe people are not aware. Maroon family owns the Ambassador Bridge, the old bridge, which is still in operation. Yeah. And then what was going on with the land on the Windsor side that the Maroon family controlled?
Well, they controlled both Detroit and the Windsor side. They had bought up a lot of property so that they could twin the bridge. And they were told, if you twin the bridge, you actually have to take down the old bridge. And they refused. So they were like, no, this is ridiculous. So they put like dump trucks or cement trucks up. These lanes could be open if the Canadian government would allow it. And I mean, they did some pretty nasty tactics. I mean, we know that before Gordie Howe opened, they gave Trump $1 million to delay it. I mean, they have money, and they're hurting. They're really hurting. I understand they're asking trucking companies to sign a deal with them to cross their bridge. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I do know one company had completely said, if you cross the Gordie Howe, you will be fired. And we've seen those images online from Qualcomm's. And it's funny because the Gordie Howe Bridge, we needed the third bridge. I mean, it's great, but the construction, I don't know if anybody thought about it, but we live in a snow belt. So this roller coaster roundabout up and down, I'm looking at it going, well, this section's going to get flooded and it's going to be full of snow. You got cops on the walking on the roadway. Somebody's going to get hit, and it's hard to get out of. Like, you've got all these lines and nothing's straight, everything's curved, and there's really no direction. Exit this way. And now that could be only because I took it like I don't know, 3 days after it was open. But everybody was like, "Oh, look at this wonderful bridge." I'm like, "It's a bridge. It's not that great. It's just a bridge. It's concrete and steel. Yeah, it's pretty, I guess, but all the ups and downs on the U.S. side is absolutely ridiculous. It's I don't think it was well thought out. There's no duty free. Why would you take a bridge that has no duty free? I'll go to Sarnia, or I'll go to Windsor, or I'll go through the underground when I travel privately. But in the truck, I got to go where they say. So, and that seems to be on the way in. We're taking the Gordie Howe.
So the upsides are that this reduces a lot of the traffic flow going like through, sort of residential area in Windsor, right? Impacting the community there. Not entirely residential, but the old Ambassador Bridge.
It's mostly businesses on that corridor. I mean,
yeah,
maybe one or two houses remain.
On the left side, there are a lot of houses sort of in that zone, right? So you have adjacent neighborhoods in Sandwich Town.
Yeah.
Like that, right?
But they have all the intersections are lighted.
Yeah.
Every one of them. The worst part is that drivers don't follow the rule, which is you're supposed to be in the center lane. How do you solve that? You start ticketing those that are in the left and in the right. I mean, just put a cop there every day. You could fund Windsor by the amount of truckers that don't read the signs, don't care about the signs, or are trying to beat traffic. Just start ticketing them. Not a fast load. Okay, well, you're not supposed to be in this lane. Out.
So is it more efficient?
They don't do that.
Is it more efficient to take the new Gordie Howe Bridge with the way that it connects, or is it faster and more efficient? I guess it depends on where you're going, right?
It depends on where you're going. I mean, sometimes we have to go to Sarnia. Some of the brokers are in certain areas too. They only use certain bridges. So it depends on your load, really. But is it faster? Because there's no traffic on that Gordie Howe just yet. When I went across, there was no traffic. It does seem to have lightened up somewhat a little bit of Sarnia on the way in, but on the way out is still a nightmare because everybody's avoiding the Ambassador Bridge. So it's backing up, and that Sarnia Bridge will back up. Oh, I don't know. I think the longest I've stood in line for that is about 4 hours.
So people are avoiding the Ambassador Bridge now?
Truckers are, yeah, absolutely. They've been avoiding it for quite a while.
Why? Because of the
cost.
Well, right.
Yeah, because the Maroon family had it up to, it was $110 or something ridiculous.
Oh.
It was ridiculous. So they priced themselves right out of the truck market, and there's not that much wiggle room anymore in freight. I mean, if we had it back to the 70s and 80s before we deregulated, we would have the money to spend $110 on a bridge crossing. But if you do that twice, that's, 2 loads that you're taking $220 out. You haven't paid your drivers. You haven't paid for fuel. You haven't paid taxes. You haven't paid IFTA. You haven't paid for fuel. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Huge.
So it is huge. And it's very huge. And if you think you're carrying something like, I don't know, chicken, right? It doesn't pay very much.
Yeah.
If you take, we do a lot of rutabagas. If you're taking rutabagas aren't that expensive in the grocery store. So, I mean, even though I have 53 feet, they're not paying us a lot per rutabaga. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the weight is heavy, so the fuel is higher.
And the fuel is out of sight.
Ridiculous. And that is a lot of Trump's doing. I mean, he's the Strait of Hormuz is closed off. The war with Iran that's fueling it.
Yeah.
Then you got Venezuela, where he wants to control that country's oil. When he said that, I was like, are you out of your mind? You want to control another country's oil? Oh, no. That's not your right. You're American, right?
Yeah.
Then he's got people in Cuba. I mean, the minute Cuba is more on a steady foot, I'm sure my husband and I will go. We've wanted to go for a while. I have gone twice to Cuba. But, I'll take him as soon as we can make sure that we'll be safe there. But yeah, what he's doing to that country, that's their own country. And although they are happy they're being, released under rule, their situation got far worse. And this is what I'm trying to explain to the West.
Yeah.
Like, there is a transition period once you leave Canada. What is that transition period going to look like? Nobody tells them what that looks like.
What was, I mean, I've been to Cuba, and I've shared my experience here on the program with people, but what was your experience there? Like, because when I listen to Marco Rubio or Trump, they'll say it's a failed state and the people are eating, cats and dogs, or just like they do in Ohio.
No,
that's not what I saw when I was down there at all. And I did leave the resort to go exploring, and I met with people. What I saw did not match what the rhetoric is coming from the United States. What about you?
No, I didn't see any of that. I even went to, I don't know if you went to the market. Like, I was in Veradero.
Yeah.
Veradero.
Yeah.
So at times, staying on the resort was kind of like, I am so sick of the food. It just all kind of smelt the same by day 4. So I went off and I ventured and I took the rickshaws, and those guys worked really hard. I went to the local market where actual locals, shop, and they had a store which they called like a government store, they were telling me. So I went, well, I'm going to go in because I've never been to like a state sanctioned store. Let me tell you, I could get Nikes there for far less than I could in Canada. I was all over that stuff. I was like, hey, I think I dropped $200 in that store with stuff I brought back for my grandkids and for myself. I got I still have it actually, a handmade leather bag for $60. I mean, you never get that here.
Yeah.
The people were so friendly. You did have to pay for toilet paper, though, when you went to the washroom. That was interesting. I'd never seen that before in my life.
I didn't experience that, but okay. Yeah.
You didn't? Yeah. I was at a local market, and it could be because I was at a local market, but they charged me for the toilet paper going in. They gave you the whole roll, but you had to return it when you were done. But yeah, I think it was like a quarter or something, and it reminded me of back when I was a kid in Toronto. We used to have to put quarters in to get into the bathroom stalls. So, yeah, like that's going back way back in the 70s. But yeah, you had to do that. And so, that was kind of cool. I went to a local food market. Now, that's a little different. There were flies on food. I was like, yeah, I'm not buying that. But it was interesting to see how when you get off the resort and you go into some of the communities, it's actually a crime there to attack a tourist. That's what our my little, when you go from the airport on the bus, they tell you all about Cuba. That's what she was saying.
When you say attack,
I
you
said,
mean when they approach you and try to sell you something or panhandle? Is
no,
that what you
no,
mean? Or
steal, steal, take your wallet,
Okay.
attack you. If
Mug.
any of that went on, it's a life sentence. It's not even a discussion. That was a tourist.
I didn't know that.
So, yeah, there's no drugs on the island. They don't allow that. The only drug is smoking. That's it. There's no drugs on the island. Alcohol is open to all. So you'll see young kids drinking, but there won't be any drugs. I liked that. I was like, yeah, cool. I don't want to be with a bunch of druggies on an island. I mean, they had some great stuff. The one thing that did put me back was I was talking to the tourists, or the I can't think of what they call them, but like the tour director, she was telling us how women couldn't drive a bus in Cuba. And I was like, excuse me, I drive transport truck. I couldn't drive a bus here. She's like, no, that's not a woman's rule. So they do have very set women, men positions, but they all seemed happy. Nobody seemed, they seem far happier than Canadians, and they're suppressed. And Canadians are bitching about, everything. Nobody's happy. I just how do we wake up every morning and be so unhappy? It's ugly.
Yeah. And we're not, our country is not being bombed, right? At least not right now. So, yeah,
that's true. And I just want to make a quick little kind of joke here. And actually, it's true. It's a true fact. In certain state, that local people will do what we call survivor in wilderness, right? They go on a trip in a beautiful state forest and stay there as long as they can and try to survive, right? They will eat roots, stuff like this, and squirrels. And some also take roadkills to do whatever they want with it. So I'm just saying, if they eat cats and dogs in certain states, and that's retrograde to certain people, well, American also eat other stuff. So just saying.
Well, Ozzy Osbourne liked to bite the heads off bats. So there's that.
And then you have Duck Dynasty, where she would make squirrels. She put out a cookbook. I'm just saying, that was weird stuff. I bought the cookbook, but I looked at it and went, yeah, no. I just like Duck Dynasty. I think it was funny, but
now we're getting into the nitty gritty of culture, right? What about the this is all kind of off to the side, but what about the restrictions the U.S. wanted to impose on who Canada is allowed to trade with? And I think that's mostly directed at China and these concerns about EV vehicles like BYDs coming in and all of that stuff. Would you have any thoughts on that, Bridget?
Well, as far as I know, they have some manufacturing in the U.S., but they don't have the manufacturing that China does. Where are you all getting your cell phones and your TVs? We had free trade on electronics, right? Why not get our stuff from China? I mean, we've been doing this trade forever. And the reason we did it was because stores like Walmart, which is American, didn't want to pay U.S. workers or Canadian workers a fair wage to create a product that was at a price point that most people couldn't afford. So they went to China. They started that. And who are they to tell us who we trade with?
Right.
That is not okay. I do have a problem with that. And like I said, I love Trump. The first term, I got 7 flags. I got 2 hats. But I am very disappointed in term 2. I know a lot of Americans are disappointed in in him in term two, and they can't wait because really the next 18 months, I think it's 18 months, we're going back into them going into their long-term election, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm glad we don't do that in Canada. I couldn't handle it.
Well, it certainly is the opposite of free market capitalism and conservatism when you have a government that is looking for every possible way they can control the market and control competition. They don't want competition, so they're looking for ways to prevent even, Canada and other countries from trading with China as a that's a non-tariff trade barrier right there. It's just you just can't trade with them. And it's hypocritical because the United States imports crap loads of stuff from China. Just go to Harbor Freight. Look at like everything in the damn place, every tool, the whole it's China tool, not Harbor Freight tool.
Hey, that's like my Disneyland. Okay, leave Harbor Freight alone. Leave them out of it. I visit every time I can.
Well, go ahead. I got no issue with it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite stores. But the other thing is, look at they're saying, oh, America's doing so much better than Canada. Actually, if you look at the stock market increases, I believe we were at 11.2% and they were at 8%. Our stock market is doing better. Our economy should be doing better by those numbers. But who knows? And the other thing I've been researching with a friend of mine, because they have a trading account, is we've been researching all the negative comments from Trump and what that does to the stock market. Yeah. And it's like Trump speaks, the next day it's in the toilet.
Yeah.
And it's like, just get him to stop talking and the economy will fix itself. It's almost like a liberal plan, really. It's just like, get Trump to stop talking and people will start making money. Otherwise, you guys are going to lose your investment. It's quite bizarre that we've tracked this over the last few months, and I'm just so glad he's willing to share. He's like, hey, look, Trump made a statement. Look where the stock market is. He's like, I'm down 12%. I'm like, oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine being down 2%. But
well, you are aware that they're selling Truth Social early access to his posts to people on Wall Street for $100,000 a year, right? Did you know that?
I had no idea.
So it's totally
that's insider trading.
That's exactly it. So the way this works is this is a story that we covered here about a month ago now. So Truth Social, which he has a stake in, okay, and he posts all of his announcements on Truth Social. So if you have $100,000 a year and some of the, the top trading companies over on Wall Street, the brokers, they now pay a fee. And what happens is they have a faster line that comes to them. So when he posts something, knowing that will affect the markets, he posts a statement, they get the fast line, it arrives, that information arrives to them just even seconds before anybody else gets it. Then they're using AI to analyze what the statement says and how that will impact the market. And then they know whether to buy or sell different commodities, stocks, securities, whatever. And that is absolute. And any other time that would have put Mr. Trump in jail, but because he's the president, he has immunity. And so he sits there and he's got the levers that he can control the market to make it go up or down, because he could announce some government program and he does it every day, right? Something on pharmaceutical industry, or making an announcement about something about automotive, or we're going to put tariffs on this country, or we're going to attack Iran tomorrow and blow them to kingdom come. And that's going to affect the oil prices. And if you know that, even just seconds before anybody else, you can make billions of dollars. because you now know which way the market is going to go, and you know whether to buy or sell before anybody else. It's totally rigged, and he's the one rigging it.
Well, all I want from him at this point is the Epstein files.
Yeah.
Notice how those Epstein files are buried. You know, oh, we got a war. Oh, we've got people starving. Oh, we're attacking Canada. Oh, Canada's not being fair. Where are the Epstein files, and how come we don't have them all? And how come we don't have pictures? And how come things are being hidden? There are things being hidden. And I think the American people should be going, what about those Epstein files?
That, I think, is also why you saw his former fixer lawyer, Cohen, reconcile with him 2 days ago. Did you see that?
No.
No, I had no idea.
So there's Michael Cohen, who had a falling out with Trump now almost 10 years ago. Trump put him in jail, solitary confinement, every other damn thing to shut him up. He then basically goes over to the other side, pro-Democrat. He was actually a regular contributor to even the Midas Touch Network, which of course is a liberal Democrat, NDP, leftist sort of thing, right? Which you maybe have seen. So he was on there for a while, but then he kind of drifted away from that. And 2 days ago, he's reconciled with Trump. He's over there on WABC radio, New York. Trump came on and he did an interview with him because it's pretty clear that some sort of a deal has been made. And again, I'm just guessing, but it seems to me Trump is probably afraid, and he's tying up some loose ends on this Epstein stuff because Michael Cohen knows pretty much everything, and he doesn't want him talking. And so
I just have a quick question, real quick. The radio station you just mentioned, this is John
Catsimatidis.
What's his name again?
That's right.
Yeah, Catsimatidis.
This is just where it all comes together again, Bridget. John Catsimatidis, owner of WABC Radio, very rich dude, contributor to Donald Trump, pro-Trump guy, also the largest purchaser of Canadian oil. Also, interestingly, Mr. Catsimatidis was a champion of the ostriches and put the full weight of WABC Radio, which broadcasts into the signals bleed over into much of Canada out of New York State, because it's a massive, used to be the flagship station where ABC, which he owns now himself, and was doing programming very much focused on the ostrich issue out in BC, while you had all these other people in Trump's orbit like RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz weighing in on the whole debate, as you may remember. And Catsimatidis started a whole campaign to save the ostriches, which is very interesting. And he also owns oil refineries on the U.S. side, and he's the largest purchaser of Alberta oil. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't it? My radar
Well, you don't want to see. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ian.
No, I was just saying my radar was good.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's true. So do you see how the
radar
dots
is
begin
good,
to connect?
but
It's amazing.
My radar starts looking back at a few people when I hear those names, and when I start seeing their connections, and when I start, and it's like, and people are still fooled by them.
Yeah.
How can you be fooled by them? And they're, you've got the US offering 500 million or something for the separation movement in the West. I mean, it all links together. You've got Trump's buddy who was a developer in Toronto for the Trump Towers, going and offering plane rides to people. This is not my admission, that's their admission in their very own book. Do you want to tell me this was not take it over? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
You can't convince me otherwise.
Amazing how we went from the talk on the tariffs all the way over to the ostriches and all these other I guess
did that. That was your
situations,
fault.
incidents where we've got this foreign meddling in Canadian politics from the U.S. side, but very clearly the tentacles go straight all the way back, trace all the way back, very specifically to Trump and the people in his MAGA sphere.
Well, and it
Pretty
also
much.
explains why some are facing legal issues and others aren't, and why some ran to the U.S. and why others don't need to.
And why some
It's
got to party
yes.
with Pete Hoekstra, the U.S. ambassador to Canada, during the
Yeah.
250th shindig that he put on at the ambassador's residence here in Canada.
Well, now they're landlocked in their province, huh? Well, maybe they should have kept their press badge on, but I didn't see a press badge in any of those pictures. So how was that a press junket? Just a question.
What a game. My goodness.
But that's okay, because the Freedom Convoy is correctly, historically listed in the U.S. Library of Congress correctly. So it's all good.
Do you want to elaborate on that at all? What that really means, Bridget?
Oh, are you not aware?
Well, I think maybe you should explain, because I don't think some people might not understand what you're saying.
Okay, so Freedom Convoy was invited to talk with a group in the U.S. whose mandate from the beginning has been to not speak to high-profile people and to have the little person tell their story, to be listed in the U.S. Library of Congress. Now, they do absolutely check you out, see who you are, and what unfolded, and then they offer you a spot. I'm not sure if I'm the only Canadian, but I thought it was quite weird as a Canadian to be able to be granted this spot. And once you do a recording with them, your recording is listed in the U.S. Library of Congress. It can never be removed by any political party, and it is there for any time they research any topic. So it's under, Freedom Convoy. It's under COVID-19. It's under my name. It's under Chris's name. It's under my book name. It's and the book is linked there, I believe. So from now till I don't know, until the end of, I guess, the Library of Congress, or somebody bombs them or takes them out, it will be there historically for the correct historical version of the events leading up to the Freedom Convoy.
And this is
historically
your
correct.
book, Consequences, that
Yes.
That I proofread, by the
Available.
way, just for full transparency, so I know what's in it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and
Yes.
And so now that's a recorded piece of history in the Library of Congress. That's the whole point here. That's the
Yes.
the official record, I guess, in terms of the Library of Congress, which is important.
It
Congratulations.
is very important. Thank you so much. And thank you to every Canadian that stood up with us, because the correct story is now listed. So our story is listed, not just mine, our story, what happened in Canada during that time. So my book doesn't touch on my book is the first book. So this is the first book is the foundation of Convoy, what led up to the need of having one. And it talks about everything. And I have been laughing because since its release in December, I was talking about aliens. If they told us our neighbor was alien, somebody would believe them. And all of a sudden, the U.S. is talking about aliens, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is too funny. And things about trucking I had listed in the book, and I'm like, did somebody hand him my book? Like I was just, it was just weird, coincidences that kept happening. But and then of course now you have Tamara Leach that wants to go and meet Donald Trump. Well, if her meeting is to get my information taken out of the U.S. Library of Congress. It's not going to happen because it can't. Its whole mandate is not to be removed by any political party. They cannot do it. So she can try.
Well, congratulations on that. That is important because now there's a record of what happened with the Freedom Convoy, which, as I've said, more than one thing can be true at the same time. But the most important thing is that there was a massive peaceful protest involving regular, ordinary, everyday Canadians. There was an aspect of it that was hijacked by people who had and continue to have,
when they have issues with the truth too. So that's
Yeah.
just funny all on its own.
Yeah.
I mean, I just received in May 7 letters from 7 different lawyers that said they were never my lawyer, but have messages saying, "Don't worry, I'm your lawyer," and other messages that say, yeah, we're gonna pay for all the legal fees. But they were never my lawyer, and they sent me privileged documents and information. Don't you think that's kind of stupid? Just saying. Just a question.
They say
But
power,
it's power and control. Yeah.
well, power corrupts, but I think money, I think it corrupts just as much, maybe more. And a lot of
Well, and
that's
it's funny because it's the same people leading the 51st date.
Yep.
So it's like I can see all the names. I can just like spit them out. They're all right there, right?
Yep.
And I'm just like, if you people could only see what they do to the yous and me's, you would definitely not be participating because you're the yous and me's. And if you don't follow their line, you get run over.
Yes.
And there's been people come out online saying they've been run over by these people, and everybody are like, well, you just had a bad day with them. They're great people. No, people are getting run over. It's a lot of people. It's not just one. If it was one, I would grant them all the thing in the world. But no, it's more than one. There's several.
Yeah.
It's a pattern.
It's a network. It's a group of people with an agenda that they were not really ever been transparent about, but and it's been a ruse. It's been destructive to our country. It continues
absolutely.
It continues to erode our sovereignty. Canada is under attack. We are at war on the tariff
from the
file,
inside,
and we've got a war going on from the inside. That is right.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
But can I hold a beautiful card and a positive one for you? Because I got something for you tonight.
Sure. In fact, Ian, why don't you share that thought and then share your final thought for tonight, because it's getting near the top of the hour, and maybe you can help us bring this home. And for the final thought, I'll throw it over to Bridget when you're done.
Well, I hope it's going to be short because actually it goes about, well, on the trade center and on the sectors that we are in Quebec are going to be touched a lot. We're going to lose a lot of jobs and stuff like this. So it's not a good news. But on a certain side of things, remember that Quebec, mostly Montreal, does a lot of producing in auto industry electronic parts that needs to be inside your car. EV cars needs to be reviewed in Montreal or in Quebec for those electronic parts. So if you got a bottleneck situation where our part in Quebec doesn't go to Windsor or any other company in the other portion of the chain supply, how can you get your car, right? So we hold a beautiful card here. And that was, I think, one of the special secret card that nobody wants to talk about in the politics. But actually, we do hold. Also, lumbers and what you got, aluminum and steel industry, pretty important into car industry. Well, lumbers for another reason, but lumbers are extremely important, and we do produce a lot of it in Quebec. In aerospace sector and in the military aircraft, helicopter engines, and so on, Longueuil and Montreal has a lot of places where we do produce parts for military and other components. So that's also a bottleneck that can be used as leverage against the U.S. For what they need into military needs. So yeah, that's pretty much the idea. And do not forget the dairy, because one thing that you don't know, Kraft. You know the peanut butter Kraft? I got a question for you. How much do you think we do produce of it and export in dollars into the US? Just for the fun of it.
No idea.
About $50 billion.
A peanut butter?
So peanut butter Kraft.
Kraft peanut butter, 50 billion?
Kraft peanut butter just in general, and that's made in Montreal mostly, right?
50,
And in
50
Ontario.
million,
So
maybe.
yeah, look it up.
Million or billion?
Billion.
Billion.
$50 billion of Kraft peanut butter to the United States.
Yes.
15.
I gotta look that up.
Grossly U.S.
What are they addicted to peanut butter down there? They can't get enough of it.
billion worth. 59.5 billion worth of agri-food and seafood product to the United States. So all that is doubling in, I mean, how many Canadian lives in the US that wants their Canadian craft made food, right? On butter, on their toast or whatnot. How many Canadian wants their Canadian foods on the shelf in the US? And now it's gonna double the price because of the trade. How many of those people gonna be freaking out because of that? Tell you what, we hold a huge card here just in Quebec and Montreal mostly, guys. And if we are not caving in with say the demands for the booze or the other products and to get into that trade war, basically we're holding a joker just to us.
Okay, I called up some numbers. I just used AI, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And total Canadian peanut butter exports, $72 million.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's for the peanut butter.
about 75% of that goes to the United States, which is the equivalent of about $54 to $56 million annually. Not billions,
right.
Not billions.
No, but
that's a lot more.
If you look at all what, because I asked for Kraft, the Kraft company, right?
Yeah.
Kraft company does a lot of produce that export to the US, right?
You mean
and
so
all
total amount from Kraft is not just peanut butter, but everything, you mean?
Yep. And everything that's worth about $1 billion.
Maybe. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I was training to drive trucks, my trainer said, do not ever leave your truck full of peanut butter, not in a truck stop. Because when you're in, when people are hurting and suffering and the economy is bad, the first thing they'll do is steal your peanut butter load. That'll feed a community for months. That was actually, it's funny that you say peanut butter because that's what they had talked about. Don't leave your peanut butter load anywhere.
Yeah. Canola oil is also part of it. Canola oil or all the products that is made to do those products with, I mean, Kraft produce company and whatnot are all in the blend. So that's worth $60 billion of tariffs.
Okay, so
or I mean, not tariff, but $60 billion of trade.
Right.
So if you tariff that, that's a lot of dollars.
So total value of all products produced by Kraft in Canada is 1.8 billion US each year, which is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one company. That's a whole lot of Kraft dinner at what's Kraft dinner cost at the grocery store now? For a box of
About
The
KG?
last
$3.
time I bought it, it was 39 cents.
39
So
cents?
the last time I bought it, it was 39 cents. So it's been a while since I bought Kraft macaroni
Yeah, I
and
think it's more than
cheese.
that now, unless you buy the big
I
bulk packs or whatever, right?
Yeah, I don't
Actually,
like it. So
I got a hack. Because, okay, if you go at a grocery store normally, like IGA, Provigo, whatever, it's going to cost about $3 a box. All right. If you go to dollar store, it's going to cost about half the cost. So make your choice.
I have a question about the peanut butter on the
Sure.
health side. Maybe you can help me out. I've wondered about this. We know that hydrogenated oils like Crisco are really bad for your heart health, right? And Kraft peanut butter, like the smooth kind, most peanut butter is hydrogenated peanut butter. And it's hydrogenated, I know, to prevent the oil from separating. If you buy the natural peanut butter that is non-hydrogenated, that's why you get the oil that rises to the surface. And then you have to stir that stuff up. So is hydrogenated peanut butter bad for your heart? Or is that why natural peanut butter is supposed to be better for you? I've never looked it up. I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Is it better for you because of that?
Yeah, it is better
anything
natural, but
processed,
peanut butter.
Yeah.
Because actually, you know
anything
what?
processed.
There's too much cholesterol. Actually, my dad had problem because he was a addicted to peanut butter toast for munchies.
See, because I don't think it's not cholesterol; it's the hydrogenation, which I don't know.
It's gonna clog your
sciences
artery
behind
at some point.
Yeah,
If
it's
you
really,
eat too
really
much of
bad
it,
for
it's
you.
gonna clog.
Yeah, but I don't know. But then, see, when I buy the natural peanut butter, and I don't eat it very often. I haven't had peanut butter in probably a year. But I buy it, which is why I don't buy it, because I don't eat it enough. And then the stuff eventually dries out and gets hard if I buy the natural stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm afraid the hydrogenated stuff is going to kill me. So you can't win. I can't win on the peanut butter.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what? I got a beautiful little recipe, super easy for everyone in the morning. For those who love oatmeal, all right?
Yeah.
And that's a funny thing. You can add, any type of oatmeal, nature one with the flavor, whatever. You take 1 spoon of that beautiful hydrogenated peanut butter Kraft, 1 spoon, and add it into the hot water. Let it melt and stir the whole thing. Wait a little bit and eat. That is basically protein for the day. And I tell you, when I do that, dude, I got some energy in the bar. My battery is all full.
I'm wondering, what is the tariff going to be then on Kraft peanut butter going to the States?
Oh, I think it's going to kind of double the price from what I get
50%?
here. Oh, yeah. It's going to go like way higher. Canadian that wants their Kraft peanut butter brand will just be freaking out.
Well, it's not going to increase the cost of peanut butter to us. It increased the cost of peanut butter to people in the United States.
Pretty much.
So I'm just looking it up here.
And
our poor American friends, 50%. 50%. So if it's $1 now, just for sake of argument, I don't know what it costs. It's probably more than that. So if it's $1 now, it's going to be $1.50. Well, if it was $1 yesterday, it's $1.50 now. Is what it's costing.
Yeah. Well, a big peanut butter Kraft, say the Kraft brand, the big one, it's about $10 now in Montreal,
what?
right?
$10 for
about
thing of peanut butter?
Yeah. The big jar. The big jar is up to $10. The middle one, the big familial one in the middle is about 8 something.
Get out of town. Really?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Right, really? So imagine how much it's going to be in the US if that's about the same price or, like $3 margin between the two. That's gonna cost a load for the American to get their brand.
You can buy. I didn't know you can buy peanut butter at Canadian Tire.
I don't know
I'm
if
just
you can
looking it
buy
up.
that at Canadian Tire, but
Yeah, you can get the kind that kills you, the hydrogenated kind. 1 kilogram. You get a whole kilogram of peanut butter for $7.99 at Canadian Tire. Here, I'll
oh
show
my
you.
God.
I don't know what it costs in the States. I haven't looked that up. I should look it up, I guess. There it is right there. Why are they selling?
Walmart.com.
There's something wrong when you got Canadian Tire, when you have Canadian Tire selling peanut butter.
They were selling M&M meats there for a while.
Wow. Everybody's into everybody else's business. Peanut butter, Kroger, Detroit price. So what's it cost at Kroger in the USA? So 1 kilogram, I don't know, is that 16 ounce, 28 ounce? I can't do the conversion on the ounces to kilograms.
Me neither.
So it's going to be like probably a 40 ounce jar. Yeah. A kilogram. So $4.99 US. And then you have to do the
$5.
conversion. Jif is only $3.79. What a deal. Or $5.99. Well, actually, it's $7.49 for the 40 ounce. So that's actually
Have you had
more.
Jess?
Jif? No, I haven't. That's in
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah. Do they sell that in Canada, Jif? Shows how much I buy.
Yeah.
Do they?
I've seen some.
I think at the Dollar Tree I've seen it.
Really?
Yep. They do.
I
Dollar
think
store
so.
in Montreal and Quebec, they have some just in general.
Now, speaking of the dollar store or the Dollar Tree, you know what I find like amazing is everybody thinks everything you buy at the dollar store is coming from China. And yet when I go in there, I find an amazing number of products that are actually manufactured in Canada, including things like shaving cream. True story.
That's true.
Yeah.
I never bothered to look.
Yeah, I do. I look. Canadian made shaving cream at the dollar store, better deal than if you go to, the drugstore or even Walmart and you buy, the Gillette or other name brand stuff. And it's really good. It's really good shaving cream, which is why I'm not shaggy tonight.
Look at gourmet peanut, roasted peanut cans and stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken, from the label I see here, imported by Dollarama, Montreal, Canada. So it's made in Montreal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how much stuff comes from Canada at the dollar store. Well,
yep.
Well, that was about the longest final thought I think we've had on the program, like ever.
I did try to make it as short as I can. Sorry for that, but yeah.
Well, so Bridget, it's up to you
to prove everyone
to bring us home tonight. Share your final thoughts on everything we've been talking about this evening. We've covered a lot of ground, way beyond the tariff war.
Yeah, I think if I was to give a final thought, my final thought is life is not as bad as you think it is. It can get so much worse in an instant, and you're missing out on living life by being angry about everything. Stop being angry about everything. You're missing out, and things happen in an instant that you can't change and that you've got to learn to live through. And it really changes your perspective. Like, stop being so angry. Start living. Time's passing you by.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And stop being afraid of everything. We're going to make it.
Yeah, the sky's not falling. Yeah. You wake up every day and the sky is still where it's supposed to be. So
It is.
it's not falling. Things are changing. We don't have to like them. We don't have to participate, but we don't have to be angry all the time. We are living, our nervous system is in a state of fight or flight all the time. We need to we need to stop that because we're making ourselves ill. If we want to live a long life and enjoy the people we love, we need to stop having our nervous system running full blast. It's not healthy. We're not healthy. And since 2020, we've probably been in this nervous system chaotic, self-preservation kind of thing, and it's not good. We need to stop. We need to start thinking about ourselves, the people around us, the people we don't spend time with because we're off fighting some made up war, or some influencers pretend, the sky is falling.
Yeah.
It's not falling. We're going to wake up tomorrow. Everything's going to be just fine. We may lose our job, but that's not the end of the world. And CARNEY's promising to support us. So, who knows? We'll see as it comes and we can react when it happens.
Life is a long journey that we all share, and it's not perfect, but we need to adapt.
And the sun will rise tomorrow at 6:44 a.m. And all you got to do is let the sun shine in. See you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern.
On the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.